everyone, and welcome to my channel. If you are new, if you're not new, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marina, and today I am back with another monthly wrap-up for the books I read. And this video is going to be the books I read in August. Be giving my rates and what I think about each and every one of them, and these are always fun, so I'm very excited. So this month was really just a pretty hard reading month for me because I wasn't in the right mental space when it came to like reading or like anything in general. So I don't know. I am proud of myself for the books that I was able to read, and a lot of them I liked. I don't think I gave any of them like bad ratings, so that's always good. Let's just get into this, shall we? I have 7 books, and for the most part none of them like are out of my comfort zone, so I feel like none of these should be a surprise to you guys when I pull them out, but we'll just have to see. The first book is The Hating Game by the one and only Sally Thorne. Yes, Book Talk's favorite romance. I have made it my mission this year and maybe next year in the early months of 2022 to get through all the Book Talk's most mainstream hyped up books so I can judge everyone's reading taste. Okay, so that's kind of what I've been doing since about April. I think April was like when I did almost everything when it came to Book Talk, but there's still a lot to go because everyone hypes up the same books, but there are a lot. So I got to The Hating Game finally, and I also wanted to read this before the movie came out because as you can see it says like soon to be a motion picture. I'm pretty sure the movie is supposed to come out next year, if not the end of this year. I'm not sure. Keep me posted for that. It's enemies to lovers if you guys don't know. Office romance. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this. It's been a while, like by the time I read this it was a while since I've read like a good romance book, like a rom-com centered novel. It was something I really needed to get out of whatever I was going through this month. I love the dynamic between the main characters, Josh and Lucy. I adore them both. I love them. They're so funny. Their dynamic in this book is kind of amazing. Like the author really did what they had to do for these characters and their chemistry and everything, because I felt it as soon as I opened the book up. I was like, whoa. Because sometimes I feel like with romance books, like it could feel so forced sometimes. So with this, it just felt really natural and I liked it. And I love that Josh is kind of like an I hate everyone but you type of guy. Those guys make me swoon. Love that. The only thing I will say though is that I wish it was a little longer. Like it doesn't even have to be like a few chapters longer, maybe an epilogue of sorts, because I feel like it ended really abruptly after Josh's brother's wedding. I would have liked a few more chapters, or at least like an epilogue of sorts of what their ending was like. Maybe of him meeting her parents or something, because that's what I was waiting for throughout the book. Because if you know, you know, but like I was waiting for him to like have a meeting with her parents and like to have them talk somewhat, maybe, I don't know, and I just never got that. And then like there was some other stuff I was expecting too by the end of the book, and it kind of left me a little sad, but it didn't make me like the book any less. So 4 out of 5 for The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. Can't wait for the movie. I'm pretty sure Lucy Hale is starring as Lucy in the movie, so that's gonna be fun. Next book I have is Blood Like Magic by Lizelle Sambury. You guys know I suck with names, please give me a break. Sci-fi, fantasy, romance, almost everything in this one novel. Let me break it down. I gave this a 5 out of 5. Before I even start, y'all should know I'm gonna be rambling a lot because I ramble a lot about the books that I like. If you've been here for a while, you guys know this. I gave it a 5 out of 5. So let me explain it, because I feel like no one has talked about this book and that's kind of insulting to me. Granted, I didn't even know much about this book. I got it because 1, the cover, and 2, I heard something to do with witchcraft, so I was in. I was not expecting sci-fi of any kind, but that's what I got. I was not expecting much romance, but I got that as well. It's everything. I don't know let me calm down. This book is about my girl Voya, who's on the cover. She comes from a bloodline of witches, and in order for her to get her powers, she has to complete a mission of some sort from her previous ancestors. But the thing is, Voya failed her first mission, so she basically had to beg her ancestors to give her another mission to do in order for her to get her powers. And the mission that she got was to kill her first love. And so this whole entire book is Voya's journey of having to make the decision of trying to kill her first love, or else she won't get her powers, and also her family may or may not lose their powers as well. The sci-fi part of the book is because like it takes place in the future, technology centered world, like even more than the world that we live in now. It's, I think the year this is in is like 2049. It doesn't say in the thing, but I think I'm right. Like the year is 2049, 2050, something like that. It doesn't play a heavy part in the book, but it definitely comes to play when it, like with the plot. If you're not into sci-fi, don't worry. Like it's not too much in it, but it's enough where the plot can thrive. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So yeah, 5 out of 5. I love Voya. I love the fact that she's not perfect and doesn't pretend to be. Like she knows her flaws. She knows what she's not good at, what she's not capable of, but that doesn't stop her from trying to succeed. Throughout the whole book, she's just trying to make the right decision, but she's never been able to make a decision in her life. And I felt so seen, cause same. I'm the most indecisive person on the planet. So I was like, oh my God, she's me, like low key. But she's also like very brave despite everything that she went through in this book. Like I would have crumbled. Like if I were the main character in this book, I would have easily just like got under a rock and hid. She's like just a great main character. I love her. And then the witchcraft in this book, the way that the witchcraft works, I wasn't expecting it. It left me feeling kind of uneasy, but in the best way possible. I love me a good witchcraft book, okay? I have black witches specifically. Ooh, that's my cup of tea. I kind of wish I read this in October. Not that this is like a thriller or anything, but it kind of gave me that vibe. The witchcraft in it, I wouldn't mess with personally because it scares the crap out of me, but I loved it in this book. I love the way that it was incorporated. I love to see it in the next book because I'm pretty sure this book is getting a sequel, by the way. It ended. I hope it's getting a sequel. I love to see more of the witchcraft in this series next book, because although I saw a decent amount, I would love to see more, especially with the way that the book ended with Voya. I need to see more. I love Voya's family. They're kind of the main part of the book as well. Like you see that they're kind of main characters in the whole entire story when it comes to Voya and her mission. Like they're needed. It's a very family centered book. It's not live, laugh, love family vibes. It's just the realism of what family is like. You have your hard times, you have your good times, you have the people that you're not so close to but you love anyway. You have the ones where you like sometimes you guys are in a hard place but you still love each other and you have to get through it together. It shows that aspect of family so well, and I found it so touching. Like there were moments where it got me really emotional. I'm not gonna lie, the family tree itself is very confusing. Like when she explained everyone that lived in her house, I was like, okay, so that's 7, 8, maybe 9 family members, and I had to piece it together of who was who with who and who's the daughter of what. It took me a while to figure out, but I love the family regardless. They're great people. I can't explain my love for these characters enough, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. I really want to talk about this book for like an hour, but I can't. But yes, Blood Like Magic, 5 out of 5. Go read it if you haven't, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people haven't read it. I don't know why. I don't know why y'all are sleeping. Read it. Next is a book that I briefly talked about in I think my last video, Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Ayimide. It is a thriller, a YA thriller to be exact. I never read a thriller in my life. Never. So this was an experience, a ride, a journey that I was not prepared for, but I loved anyway. A lot of people have been talking about Ace of Spades, this book, lately, and I'm really happy about that because it deserves the praise that it's getting. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I loved everything about this. If you guys don't know what Ace of Spades is about, it is about these two characters right here, Devon and Chiamaka. They go to this private school. I think it's called Nibius Academy or something like that. They're pretty good students and they're the only black kids in the school. Yes, that's a pertinent part of the book. I'm putting it in there because it's very important. They're around a bunch of white people. So they have to like kind of be the best at what they do in order to like go off to pursue what they want. But then one day, some anonymous person starts sending messages about Chiamaka and Devon to the whole entire school. That ruins both of their reputations along the way, and it's just about these two trying to figure out who it is, and along the way they uncover some dark secrets about said person and about the people around them, and it's a lot. I can't explain too much. I don't want to spoil it. It's a mystery, it's a whodunit thing, but it's also a thriller, but it's also somewhat of a horror. It's also dark academia. It's a little bit of everything. It made me feel many emotions because since, you know, hello, Black, something about me resonated with this. I have been to majority white schools in my time of living. I've dealt with a lot of white people in my time, so I can easily see something like this happening in real life, and that's the scary part. I could not put this book down. I really needed to figure out what was going on, and along the way I was breaking a sweat. I was nervous for both of these characters. I just wanted them to be happy. Of course they can never just be happy, they can never thrive because the white people done it again. It's the white people. I loved it. To put it briefly, I love this book. I think everyone should read it. Even if you're not Black, obviously read it. It's not scary in the way that like it's like boo, a ghost. It doesn't have any supernatural paranormal elements. It's just so real. But I feel like if you're not Black, you would understand how real it is. But it just, something about it just made me uneasy because it felt like this could easily happen. It's a mixture of Get Out and Gossip Girl, basically. If those two shows, movies interest you, you might really like this. I was confused as to how they would be incorporated together because both of those things have nothing in common. But then I read the book, and by the end I was like, this author is onto something amazing. The only bad thing that I would say about this book is the ending. The ending was not it for me. I needed something more. That little like jump cut to like the future or whatever, not enough. Not enough. I need more. I'm not even asking for a sequel. Maybe just like a little like a drafted epilogue. I need to know what happened to the characters that messed with these two because reparations are needed. Yep. Yeah, overall 4.5 out of 5. The only reason why I took off the 0.5s because of the ending, but even that I kind of rounded it up to a 5 out of 5, I think, on Twitter. Just read it. Like I'm not joking. Read the book. It's stunning. Also look at the cover. Like the cover itself is just so like, are you stunning. I love me a good book with a good beautiful cover. Ooh, it just makes me so happy. Next book I have is a book that I think I put on my mid-year book freakout tag for books that I want to read by the end of the year or something like that. Lore by Alexandra Bracken. I finally read this Greek mythology retelling by Alexandra Bracken, my first Alexandra Bracken book. I think she's the author that wrote the Darkest Mind series. This was my first journey with this woman in her writing, and I've got to say, I have a lot of thoughts. I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5. Like I said, it's a Greek mythology retelling. It's fantasy. This book took me to a lot of places, not even in a literal sense because it's based in New York City, but it took me everywhere that I don't know if I needed or wanted, but I was there anyway, and now I just have to explain. I think I explained it in my mid-year book freakout tag or whatever, that this book is a mixture of like Greek mythology and the Hunger Games, and I didn't know if I was right, but I feel like I'm pretty right. Like that was a good guess on my part because I didn't know the synopsis when I made that video. Now that I've read the book, I was kind of on point. This is centered around the character Lore. She is a descendant of Greek warriors who fight for the powers of the Greek gods. So, you know, the original Greek gods, Ares, Poseidon, Hermes, Athena, like all of those warriors fight for the powers of the Greek gods. Lore wants nothing to do with that though. Like she's so detached, like she wants nothing to do with that at all. Like she wants no part in the violence taking place in her city. It happens every 7 years. But one day on the night of the war or whatever, a Greek god, Athena, comes knocking at her door asking for her help, and it just goes downhill from there. She is on a mission to make sure that this war does not exist, like that no one has to fight in this war ever again. And she does that with the help of a few friends and Athena. And it's just a journey. It's a wild ride, guys. I really liked Lore. I liked her as a main character. Just like with Voya, I liked how she wasn't perfect. In this book, obviously that the title is Lore, it's centered around her and her past and how the war that takes place every 7 years has affected her and her life. It's centered around that. And I don't know, just reading about her and all the mistakes she's made in the past and how she feels about not only those mistakes but herself as a person now as she has grown. I don't know, it made me kind of resonate just a little bit. I feel like I project myself with every character I read about, but it's true. Like, I felt a little bit of an attachment to Lore. I don't know, from beginning to end I was frustrated because she did things that I didn't like, and then she did things that I liked, and then when she did things that I didn't like, I was like, why are you doing that? And then I was like, I get it. Like, I understand her. Lore is low-key my soul sister. I get her. I vibe with her. I see her. If you see me looking in the corner, I swear I'm looking at my notes. The love interest in this book was a cutie. I liked him, but he wasn't the main reason why I was reading this book. Surprising. I know, I usually read books for romance. Like, if a book doesn't have a little hint of romance in it, I get bored. And I feel like that would have applied to this book as well, but I don't know, for some reason I was just attached to Lore. Even the whole story and everything, the plot, I wasn't into. I just wanted to know if Lore was gonna be okay. I was so scared. Throughout multiple times in this book, my heart felt heavy because she did something stupid and I was like, Lore, no, but I couldn't stop reading, you know? So I wasn't really here for the main love interest, although I love him, he has my heart. Not really here for him, you know what I mean? I like the world building. I think it was interesting, but I feel like it was more showing instead of telling for the most part. Like, it took me, I think, until halfway into this book to understand what the hell was going on. Like, even now while I'm sitting here with you guys, I can't really tell you or explain the world in which they live in, or why this world war thing happens every 7 years, or how it happens. I'm kind of confused. Like, I get it, but even if you told me to break it down right now, I'd need like at least 20 to 30 minutes. Showing and telling when it comes to world building is important, and I feel like it was mostly just showing. The way that the Greek gods were depicted was very well done. Every time I reread a Greek mythology retelling, the gods are usually assholes, and it doesn't change much in this book, but there is a little hint of emotion, a little bit of sympathy from a few of the gods. Now, I just thought it was very different. Retellings show the gods as being heartless and only thinking about themselves, and of course they do this. They do the same in this book, but it made me look at them as real people, you know. And I liked that. I liked knowing that the gods were like bumped down a peg. I don't like the ending all that much. I don't know if this is a standalone novel, so maybe that's why the ending was the way it is, but I don't like it. I felt like it was too easy. It didn't make me feel satisfied after everything that these characters went through throughout this whole book. The pain, the emotion, everything. That's ending. I feel like it was kind of rushed. Not gonna lie. I feel like the ending was a little rushed. But whatever, that's just my opinion. That's why I give it a 3.5 out of 5 for the most part. That and like the way that the world building was depicted and everything. Yeah, okay, so Lore by Alexandra Bracken. Read it if you haven't already. It's honestly a pretty decent book. I enjoyed it. Next, I've never read this woman's books, but this is my first book that I've ever read, and I'm gonna talk about it. Let's talk about It Ends With Us, guys. My first book on my Colleen Hoover journey. I need to like stretch. I need to get ready. Ever since I've become a part of the book community, whether it be on book Twitter, even a little bit of book talk now and then, I have heard about this woman. I know about this woman. Like, she has a reputation around the book community. So I was like, okay, I have to give her a chance. Because she's also one of the big authors on Book Talk that get hyped up and are very, very mainstream. Like, almost all of her books are recommended everywhere. You can't not see Colleen Hoover when you go onto like a book platform of sorts. So I was like, okay, I think this is the day. And it wasn't even really planned. I kind of wung it. I was just like, let me see if there are any of her like ebooks on here and I'll read it. And I read it. So let's talk about It Ends With Us, because this is my first Colleen Hoover book and I have a lot to say. So if you guys don't know, Colleen Hoover is known for her romance novels. Her angsty, for the most part, romance novels. And It Ends With Us is definitely fits the bar. I rated it 4 out of 5. I was not expecting anything that happened in this book, for the most part. For like at least the first quarter, maybe a third of the book, I was like, okay, this is nice, this is cute, this is fun. And then you if you read the book, you know when like it's like something switches in the air, and I felt uncomfortable. I read this in one sitting. I read it 5 hours. I finished it around 2 o'clock in the morning. So by the time I finished it, I was kind of just sitting there like, what did I just read? I didn't read a synopsis. I literally just read It Ends With Us because it was the most hyped up one. That and Ugly Love are, I think, 2 of her most popular books. So I was like, okay, It Ends With Us. I just jumped in not knowing anything, and then here I am. Everything about this story, about Lily and Ryle's story, because those are the 2 main characters. I want to give a description about this book, but I don't even know how. Lily and Ryle's love story, it felt really real, and I don't know how to feel. The way that the story was kind of set up in the beginning was cheesy, but I liked it nonetheless. So I thought throughout the book I was gonna get like this cheesy, happy sense of romance, and then like a little bit of conflict in the middle, like most romance novels do, but then they'll fix it in the end and it'll all be fine. But then once the conflict came, I was like, oh, that's when I knew that the ending that I was expecting, I wasn't gonna get what I wanted. Oh my god, guys, I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm literally because I'm at a loss for words with this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5, so obviously I enjoyed it, but I can't even put into sentences how I feel or how to explain this book without actually getting emotionally constipated. It's just Ryle and Lily's love story and Lily's conflicts with her past and her present. That's as good as it's gonna get, guys. I don't know what else to really say. I liked this book a lot, but it's gonna be a while until I read another Colleen Hoover book. I wasn't prepared for that. I would have liked trigger warnings. What is wrong with my hair? Oh my god. The book had no trigger warnings, which is also why I wasn't expecting what I expected. You guys know, I've voiced this a few times. I bump a rating down if a book does not have trigger warnings. It didn't even say it in the synopsis what it was gonna be like centered around. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why did... I'm telling you guys, when the conflict came in the book, I had to put it down for like at least 10 minutes. I was like, what am I reading? And I kept going. Once I continued, I couldn't put it down. I had to figure out where this author was going with this plot, with these characters. I can't read another Colleen Hoover book for a while. Trigger warnings, I'm begging. Because if her other books don't, I'm gonna be hesitant. Because it hit a place in me where I did not need to be hit, and I was confused. I was somewhat like triggered in a way, and I didn't really enjoy myself, but the story itself I liked. I can't put into words what I feel with this book. I'm so conflicted. I understand the hype around Colleen Hoover. She will make you feel emotions whether you want to feel them or not with her novels. Like, she will make you feel. Okay, you won't walk out of a Colleen Hoover book without feeling at least something in your soul and your heart. That woman knows how to mess with your emotions, and I've only read one book. Yeah, that's a talent. One thing I will say, I didn't like that there was pregnancy in this book. You guys know I don't like pregnancy centered books or whatever, so that also made the point scale drop down for me a little bit. I do not like pregnancy in books, but the way that this was done, I was like, I still didn't know what to say. Like, I didn't like it, but I was just like, okay. At this point in the book, I was just like, of course, sure, let's say she's pregnant. I feel like I'm getting so frustrated. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to take my anger out on you. I'm just trying to figure out my emotions still with this book. It's been a week. I still don't know how to feel. But yeah, It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. That's it. 4 out of 5. Give me some time. I'll read Colleen Hoover again, but I can't not right now. Okay, let's talk about the next one. It's the Six of Crows Duology by Leigh Bardugo. I finally read it. I know I said I was gonna read it like months ago when I finished the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I don't know what happened. Oh wait, yes I do. I was waiting to get the collector's editions when I felt like dropping money for the collector's editions, and I have them. I have the first one and I have the second one, and they didn't come for weeks, so that's why it took me so long. But I'm finally here. I'm finally getting to it. So if you guys don't know, which I highly doubt, because this is also highly recommended on book talk, book Twitter, whatever, everyone loves Six of Crows. Like everyone. I mean, there could be easily be a cult centered around this damn duology, I swear. Like, well, first books I heard of when I got on book Twitter were Off Campus, ACOTAR, and Six of Crows, in that order. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to read it eventually, and I did. I gave it a 5 out of 5. It is centered around these 6 kids. I want to say kids, they're like teenagers, they're like 17, 16. They are on a heist to go to the ice court. If you guys don't know, this takes place in the same world as Shadow and Bone. Is part of Leigh Bardugo's whole Grishaverse thing that she's got going on. So it's in the same world but on a different land. These kids are from Ketterdam, except for one of them or 2 of them. They have to go to the ice court to collect someone who is messing with the Grisha's powers in a way that could damage a lot in the world, and so they are set on a mission by someone to go and get the person who's doing all of this. If they do it, they get, I think it was 30 million Kruger. I don't think anyone really cares about the summary of the book too much. Everyone just talks about the characters. Like, this book is very character centric. Like, everyone loves these characters, so I was like, okay, I'm ready. I am ready. 6 characters, 6 POVs, let's go. For the first book, because this is what we're talking about, we're talking about the first book, Six of Crows. I loved all the characters, every single one. Even though we didn't get all of their POVs in this book, I think we got only 5 of them, if I'm not mistaken. Only 5. But I love all the characters regardless. Their dynamic and their growth throughout the book was so satisfying to see. Especially because I was reading this at the same time as it ends with this, by the way. So like, my emotions were they were everywhere. So the fact that I got to see like somewhat of like a healthy dynamic chemistry between characters, it was so refreshing. It was what I needed, guys. Like, I can't stress that enough. This whole Grishaverse, if you guys don't know, the Grisha have powers. Like, they have like the elemental powers or whatever. The characters in this book, though, for the most part don't have powers. Like, a majority of them don't. So it's basically about these normal people trying to pull off a heist around people with superpowers of some sort, and it's really cool because usually when you read books about fantasy and living in a fantasy world, people that are the main characters usually are the ones that are special with powers or whatever. But these crows, they don't. They just get by with their normal tricks and capabilities, but like, they're not normal at all. They're very special kids. Like, while reading it, I was awed by what they could pull off, because they're only like 16. So I was like, whoa. Each character has their own backstory that gets explained over the course of 2 books in the duology, and it was so sad but nice. It was interesting. It was everything that I expected from how the community explains these 2 books. It was exactly what I expected, but more, and it didn't leave me feeling disappointed anyway. These characters are definitely developed in a way that I appreciated in this book, and even more in the second book, but I'll get to the second book later. When it comes to the actual heist part of the book, I wasn't really into it. This is my first time reading a book like this where it's about like pulling off a heist. Some parts did keep me interested, like because the stakes are high throughout both books. The stakes are very high, so that's what kept me interested. I was like, y'all really need to pull off this mission, because if you don't, I don't know what's gonna happen. And yeah, it kept me hooked from beginning to end. It was good to see different perspectives of the Grishaverse from totally different characters than Shadow and Bone. Because I don't know if you guys know, but I reviewed Shadow and Bone a few months ago after I finished the last book in, I think, June. And my feelings for those characters were very I thought for the most part they were very two-dimensional. With this duology, I felt the total opposite. Like, Leigh Bardugo did a good job of fleshing out these characters to make them feel like real people, like make you empathize with them. On to Crooked Kingdom, the last book I'm going to be talking about. Second book in the Six of Crows duology. This takes place after, like, literally right after the events of Six of Crows, so I can't explain it without spoiling what happened in the first book. So I'm just gonna give you my thoughts on what I think. Again, fantasy, heist, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I thought this was a really good sequel. I think this is one of the best sequels I've read in a very long time, actually. I like how it showed more about Wylan and Jesper and their own troubling relationships with their parents. If you know, you know. I liked seeing how those things kind of parallel with each other in totally different ways, but how they kind of bond with each other over time. Because I was like, what is up with Wylan? I was like, what's his deal? And I was glad that we got to see it more in this book. The stakes in this one somehow seemed higher than the one in the first book, which I didn't think was possible, but it somehow was. Because of the way that the last book ended, I was like, how are they gonna get themselves out of the situation that they're in? And I still can't explain how they pulled off what they did. Like, these characters are kind of genius. I mean all of them, from Cass to Inej to Nina, Matthias, Jesper, Wylan. They're all very smart, very amazing characters. Just to read about them and how they view each other and themselves while trying to pull off these crazy heists that they do. I don't know, it just made me feel things. I will admit though, I wasn't in it as much as I thought it'd be. By the end of August, I kind of wasn't really in a fantasy mood. Like, it took me a while to get through Six of Crows. By a while, I mean like I think 3 days, 4 days. With this one, I was very intrigued because like I said, that ending for the first one, I was like, okay, shit's about to go down in this, and it did. It thoroughly did, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it all. 5 out of 5 for both. I loved them both. Nothing about either of the books were predictable, especially for this one. I was on the edge of my seat reading this book. It had me in a chokehold for 48 hours. I got to see my faves from Shadow and Bone. Like, they were my favorite characters from the series in Shadow and Bone, and they made an appearance in this. I was like, oh my gosh, you're instantly getting a 5 out of 5. You're instantly getting a 5 out of 5. Even if the book was bad, I'd have to like bump the points up a little more because my faves were in this one. I'm not gonna say which characters, but no one told me that my faves were in this, and I kind of feel betrayed. When they made an appearance, I actually screamed. Ooh, I can't wait to get to King of Scars next, because I am gonna be reading King of Scars, and then the second book, I think it's like Rule of Wolves or something like that. I'm gonna be reading those books probably soon. I don't know when, but soon. And yeah, I screamed. And then what I like about this one a lot more than the first one, I feel like there were a lot of more sentimental moments in this book when it came to the characters, and from characters that you wouldn't expect. Like, there was a moment with Matthias and Jesper, which I wouldn't think was ever gonna happen because Matthias and Jesper literally don't mix. And then there was the bathroom scene. If you know, you know. And of course, Nina and Inej's friendship. So cute, so great. I just feel like because of everything they went together in the first book, you get to see their growth as friends in this, not just like a team that's working together to get what they want in the end. Like, they obviously care about each other, even though for some it's harder to show that than others. But I liked it. I liked both these books. I guess my overall rating is a 5 out of 5 since I gave them both a 5 out of 5. Just great pieces of literature in my opinion. I get the hype to a certain extent. Like, when it comes to YA, like fantasy novels, I see why this is like hyped up on the list, because everyone loves these characters. I see Inej edits all the time. I see Wesper edits all the time. Like, they're everywhere. So I get it. I finally read it. I understand the hype. Still feel like since I'm not in that fantasy mood, like I didn't get to appreciate it for what it was, but I still like it a lot. So yeah, that's my monthly wrap up. Sorry if it was all over the place. I feel like once it ends with us, my brain was so scattered. I'm sorry. Didn't mean for that to happen. It just did. And you know what? I have no regrets, because that's exactly what I felt while reading the book. If you enjoyed this, thank you. If you would like to recommend me more books, don't be shy. Do it in the comments. Or you can follow me on Twitter and recommend me stuff on there. I mostly interact on Twitter. But if you'd like to follow me on all my other social medias, it'd be nice. They will be linked in the description below. Books, tell me what you think of the books that I did read, your own thoughts on them, all that jazz. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone.